Alright, let's go ahead and get started here. Now, quick caveat again too, there might be some stuttering here and there, not maybe on the stream, but on the game for sure while loading the maps. It seems like shaders want to recompile again, so until I play each map once, it's gonna probably chug a bit. Alright, where were we though? The Masked Mon. I guess let's see if we can, I mean, getting level 3s is just gonna be just RNG fest anyway, so I'm not sure if we really should play around that. We can do some mass murder, I guess. That might be a way of getting a few of them. I guess we can start with seeing... Hey game, how's it going? I guess we can see if we can get some codexes first, just for funsies. We'll do our Ash and Mesa. That definitely won't be a night shift, right? Should I bring a manual way in to get one? You guys go ahead and buy one just in case. What do I got that you like? I have 64 cyborg heads? Wow, okay. There we go. I'm gonna use this right now. I just wanted to have one on hand because I do want to use one later. I think we're good for now. Hey, Warboss, hey, Fruit. Yeah, I think it's just kind of just like pure RNG though, right, Fruit? It's just about getting lucky.
Gotta keep a record in the event of my death.
Alright, come on. You can do it. When you see the reticle blow up, that should be the last shader to load. There we go. So we should be good now, I think. Yeah, hold on. Hold on. Gotta wait for the map to load. Hello? Alright, nice meeting you. We got one side. Do we have both sides? We got both sides. What a gift. Let's get a vantage point. Actually, what it might be a good vantage point was over here, actually. Enemies usually can't path up here very well. Apparently neither can I. Yep, there we go. It's hit or miss, and I can't even blame Fundog for this. It could just be Nvidia's really shitty drivers. Like, they have gotten really bad with their drivers recently. Like, it could be a Fundog issue, it could be the game issue, it could just be an Nvidia issue. I restarted my machine before I started streaming, so it could have been that maybe. Alright, there's one down. Alright, you need to win this fight, Mr. Drone, or Mr. Yuruska. Okay, they did win that fight. I was kind of hoping to see some more back and forth, but I guess this works for now. But they can always add more later too, right? This is just iteration 1. You can actually add more, like, you know, budding. Did it win both? Damn. Hey, Mr. Grooves, save rank. Alright, there's 2 down. Now I need another Narcomas to kill the last one. I mean, I don't think it's big enough to... Am I bugged? Oh, god damn it. That's what I get for mantling. By the way you make this bug happen is if you mantle while you... Well, like, there's a certain threshold of stamina where if you mantle with that amount of stamina, it will, like, drain you to the point where you can't recover. And that's where we're at currently. The no sprint life. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say that this game's big enough to probably warrant that much attention. I don't think optimization is bad by any means. It has a massive shader issue. Like, the game runs well, or runs good enough, like, once you get past the shader issue, or once you get past shaders loading. It's just, for some reason, like, the shader loading part is a very, very problematic. For some reason. Yeah, I haven't seen Dog in a while, so I think we're kind of due for an unlucky Dog moment. No? Did I just get... Was that the T90 explosion killing me? Was that from its just main gun being next to me? I'm actually curious now. I don't know if that was the splash damage from the gun, or like it was the actual just like like right next to the gun you get instantly killed, or was it like the turret of the gun hitting me? which one was it? Because it didn't look like the projectile was close enough to kill me, but like if they were for some reason now simulating the muzzle blast, sure. Yeah, I'm just chronically sick right now, or just, I think it might be allergies, I don't know. I've had a cough for like a month now. That could have been it too, but it didn't feel like I was next to a collision yet. I'm kind of curious, I want to go find out now. What was the thing that killed me? Let me bring a few because I don't want to actually like risk losing anything important. Like, was it the muzzle? Like the energy of the gun firing that killed me, like next to the muzzle? Was it the gun just hitting me that killed me? Was it just some desync between where the actual collision box of the T90 and where it actually showed on my screen was?
Just one more run. Just one more.
Was it something like, was it just like the explosive hitting like a collision box next to the tank that killed me? It's definitely, I would say, like, it's not an easy issue to probably fix, but it's definitely an issue, right? That's definitely a source of frustration, I would think, for most casual players, is not knowing what they died from. You kind of have an inkling of what you died from. Like, I have an idea that the source was the T90, but like what the T90 did is the question of like why it killed me. It's not even sick, right? Like, it's not. It's. I have a cough, but I don't feel sick. That's the important thing here to like say. I think it's just allergies though, to be kind of honest, because I'm in a new area from a year ago, so like there's probably shit up here I'm not used to for a while. I've been up here before, but like there's probably stuff in this area that like I haven't experienced for a while, so like I'm probably allergic to it again. Yeah, it's causing a cough. It's like I'm not sick, right? And like I have phlegm in the morning, but it's not like sickness phlegm. I mean, it's just allergies. It's just kind of something you live with. Okay. So the tank, the lead. Will you stop? I am trying to do science. Also, do you not have collision at all, or just in weird spots? Huh. I can tell you right now the air quality is perfectly fine from an industrial standpoint. It's probably just allergens. Yeah, we'll just see how beta decay turns out. It's a solo dev project, so you just kind of never know. Can I heal in here? Interesting. Oh, no, I didn't heal, just was delayed. So maybe, I kind of want to try this on the T90. Does it have... Interesting. Huh. Is the turret the same way too? Okay, the turret's not, the turret has collision. The actual hull does not. The tracks have collision. Oh wait, it just fired. Okay, me being next to the muzzle didn't kill me. Granted, this is a Merkava, not a T90, so we need to go find a T90 to experiment with. But interesting, okay. So I'm guessing it was probably like the T90 hitting a collision box near us, or shooting next to us, or shooting something near us that blew us up. Though I don't remember tanks having explosives on their rounds, but maybe they edited it, or maybe we were just really unlucky. It could have been that too, yeah. At this point, it could have probably just been 5,000 different things. It was just kind of coincidental that we got murdered. But now I want to go see if the T90 hull has collision. If there's one around here.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
Yeah, they don't have hulls. Their hulls are just paper mache. Is there a T90 around here? I don't think so, actually, weirdly enough. I wonder if that was the issue, actually. I don't know it to be true, but that would be fucking hilarious if that was the issue. Was that, like, the tank bodies didn't have collision, and so they weren't calculating the mass of the tank body, and so the force of the projectile was causing it to fly. Because that's, to my understanding, how that game, the UE5 does physics to some extent, or, like, its most simplest form of physics. But that would explain a whole fucking lot. I need to find a T90 now. Now I'm just curious. Do T90s have paper mache bodies? Well, so, like, the big thing is that lots of the units in the game don't have actual factual collision. The only areas, like, so the reason why the Merkava tanks treads have collision, and probably its turret, is to probably make it so that, okay, there's a few things going on here. It's probably more nuanced than this. But the first, like, easiest thing is for performance, right? When you have tens of units on a map, right, if not more, like, them having to do pathfinding calculations along with physics calculations starts adding up to cost real quick. The other thing, though, is too, right, is I wonder if, like, for the tanks' bodies on the Merkava, were they getting stuck on something, or was it the collision causing issues with their movement? And so they had to, like, actually just turn off collision or turn off the actual, like, thing on the body. So it's perfectly fine to go take a break for a while. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I've actually started playing Ashes of Creation a bit again, and, like, for me not playing since Alpha 1, so, like, a year ago, like, lots of stuff has changed. But for the people who've been playing the Alpha consistently since last year, you can kind of tell they're gassed out, right? There are ways of optimizing game shift, right? But like, there's still always the issues of the game having to do calculations to detect when it's going to hit something, right? And when you have like tens, if not dozens of units trying to do pathfinding at the same time, it's not a big cost individually, but it adds up very quickly. Especially when, like, you have optimization factors that are, like, other issues too, right? So it might not just be, like, it's not literally only that, but it's that plus lots of other things plus quantity, right? It's a death by 1,000 cuts, right? But still, though, yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking a break. It is like, if you're around something for a very long time, it's perfectly understandable to get gassed on it, right? I would probably have the same sentiment to Ashes of Creation that the other people do if I was around for the last year playing the game religiously. It's also an important factor, too, of why I don't, like, I only stream this game 2 to 3 times a week now at this point. And that's like, that was always my thing too, right? Is that I only play this game since launch like 3 times a week for a set amount of time. I rarely, if ever, play outside of that. I'm good, Delta. Alright, we need to find a T90. I'm now genuinely curious. Dude, I feel like I've jumped on enough T90s that I know their hulls have collision. Gaiden, judging from them pulling the demo today on the Discord and their announcement, it seems like we'll have the normal monthly patch.
Just one more run. Just one more run.
So sometime next week. If you want to get like very crazy, you can say the anniversary day, which I think is the 24th. But like, no. Yeah, like they haven't shown any reason to believe they're not doing a monthly patch. That it's their kind of calling card at this point. All right, T90, I see you.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
Do you have a real hull? You're not a T90. I shouldn't have to care about you. Okay, maybe it's not exactly safe to go out right now. Maybe we give it a second or two. But they'll keep killing the T90s if I do.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
They be allowed. Go over to semi. I don't have enough ammo for this to go crazy with bullets. So eventually the T90s should keep respawning. So it should I should eventually get a T90 that I can actually interact with. I mean, we'll have to see, right? Like, once again, it's a solo project, right? So you just never know how they're going to turn out. The playtest is interesting, right? But the playtest is very much a playtest. Like, it is not like this where you have the framework of a game. The playtest for Beta Decay was literally just tech level demos, basically. And basically, like, showing off, like, you know, a gun range. Hey, Em. And the gameplay was interesting, right? But, like, it definitely felt like, you know, there wasn't any content here yet. And the question will be, right, is, like, can they design a game, right, that will have gameplay loops that isn't going to rely on them to pump out content? I don't feel safe right now. I mean, some people, like, so, like, Bob, I would say some people do care about graphics, too. And like, people care about graphics, but, like, yeah, they don't care about it enough so that we want to have their game actually run poorly, right? There's a lever, right? People don't want Minecraft or Stallcraft or whatever fucking, like, blocky variant. People don't always want to play Roblox. At the same time, people would rather have a well-running game as opposed to, like, you know, perfect fucking like visual clarity, or not visual clarity, but visual, like, you know, aesthetics. So there's a T90 there. I'm not sure if I can get to it and test out if it's got collision on its hull. Not sure if that's safe or not. I will say, like, things like this though, like, I understand for performance, but this is a point where, like, it does need to actually come into play. Oh, hey, is that 290? No, that's Merkaba. Like there are certain is it going in the hole? It's going in the hole. Is it? Oh no! Oh no! No no! Like there is a reason why collision on big units probably needs to exist. I can understand infantry or drones, but like I don't know. I think there's only so many like things you can hand wave away before it like adds up, right? Once again, like 1,000 cuts. Where did it go? I don't feel safe being this close to the edge, but I'm sure it's still down there, right? This is not a void, I don't think. It's gone. Oh, did we hit the despawn trigger, really? I didn't know you could hit the despawn trigger from just out on this bridge, actually. Holy shit. That's good to know. Yeah, Mesa's definitely got like that curse going on in regards to this map. It's got a lot of those despawn triggers everywhere. Or despawn boxes, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I guess if we ever want to despawn stuff on this side of the map, we just go to the edge of the fucking thing over there. Okay, here's the thing though, Bob. If you gotta... I know you're probably being hyperbolic, but at the same time, if your laptop only has 45 gigs of space, that kind of sounds like a you issue. Like, I had bigger hard drives back in fucking World of Warcraft launch days, where, like, I was concerned about space with World of Warcraft, right? But, like, I made room. Dude, 64 gigabytes, if you only have, like, 45 gigs of space on your laptop left, like, I mean, you gotta do some juggling, man, or get it external, or just, like, if you're trying to install a full Steam library on a laptop that's probably only got 256 gigs of fucking storage, then yeah, sorry not sorry. The modern's usually a terabyte now, and your company cheaped out, unfortunately. I mean, my work laptop, or my personal work laptop that I use for like professional purposes is 256, but that's because I don't need storage on it, because I don't put games on it. And I can offload other stuff to the cloud. Yeah, that sucks, Bob. Thankfully, storage is very cheap now. I mean, the other parts make up for it, but at least storage is cheap. Guy, I wouldn't hold your breath. Like, I stream this game like 10 hours every week usually. I don't expect them to watch that. Don't expect any dev to watch that, right? That's unreasonable, I would think, to like expect devs to watch 10 hours of someone streaming their game a week. Especially considering what a breakneck pace they feel to be developing at. So, like, even with mouthwashing, though, right? Like, I would say mouthwashing is low poly, but it's not low detail.
Don't miss. Make every shot count.
Like, if you compare like mouthwashing to Roblox, they are, or Minecraft without any mods, right? They are vastly different amounts of detail, right? Like, sure, they both borrow from, like, the low poly aesthetic, but I would consider mouthwashing a pretty, like, visceral game. By the way, if you, mouthwashing is great, but it is a truly fucked up game.
Whittle them down and we can
I can't say if I would recommend it, just because I probably wouldn't in a vacuum. To people I don't know. Mouthwashing is a truly fucked up game. It's an interesting game if you're into that sort of thing, but it's a fucked up game. All I'll say on a very fundamental level, Mouthwashing is a game about personal responsibility. And it takes that to a very big extreme. Yeah, I wouldn't say I would consider mouthwashing scary in a capacity. It like there is like one area of the game that if you get scared easily could be considered as scary, but it's more about kind of a descent into madness, I guess, or someone's descent into madness. I wouldn't say it's chaotic, but like it's definitely trying to say something, and it does it in a very not aggressive way, but in a very mentally disturbing way. It goes to a hyperbolic extreme to make its point. What the? Hold on. This break is brought to you by Bug in the Room. Alright, I'm back. No, it wasn't a roach. If it was a roach, I'd be fucking much more like freaked out right now because I'd be like, how the fuck is a roach getting in here? No, it's like a small little beetle. It's not even a, it's like a weird flat beetle, which is why it keeps getting in here. This is the second one like the last week. I'm like, how the fuck are you guys getting in here? Anyway. It's not even like it's like a weird beetle too. It's like a very flat, it's not a very bulbous beetle. It's a very flat beetle. But everyone put an F in chat for the beetle, who's now currently deceased and in the trash can. No. IRL bug. Yeah, IRL bug. Not in-game bug. There's plenty of those too, but in this particular instance, it was an IRL bug. It has gone to Jesus. Or Beetle Jesus, I guess. Hey, listen, okay? That's the reproduction strategy, okay? They make lots of them. It's perfectly okay for one to eat this shit. Eventually, if evolution does its job, they should be trained to not go inside anymore because that's where they die. It's just gonna take a few centuries, right? Or longer than that. Might take a millennia. Listen, I don't know what that beetle did during its life, Survivor. Maybe it deserved hell. Maybe it did some bad stuff in its life and goes to hell instead of heaven. I don't know. I can't judge it. I don't know its life. Maybe that beetle was a saint and I just murdered a saint. Maybe I'm going to hell for killing a beetle. Who could say? We can do cigarettes. Yeah, I don't really fuck with cats, to be honest. Like, they're alright, but I would much rather have a dog than a frickin' cat. Granted, I was raised with dogs as opposed to cats, so I have biases. Yeah, I don't mind hanging out with cats. Oh, hold on. I don't remember picking this entrance point. Alright, we're good. When you see the muzzle dot, you're basically good.
Another exit.
I don't mind cats. I don't hate cats. If I was to get a pet, it'd be a dog. If someone's got a cat, I don't dislike things they have a cat. I don't mind cats at all in that capacity, but I would not go out of my way to go purchase a cat or go acquire a cat. No, it was more making, like, whenever I have to do something like that, I'm more just like pleading for its life in the sense of, why are you making me do this? Why don't you just choose life and stay outside or stay in a place where I can't see you? Like, not the fucking wall. Like, why don't you just choose life? Do you want cigarettes? No, I think it has to be that guy in that one room. No, it's like, yeah, it's like, you could have chosen life, you just gotta, you know, see, here's the thing about roaches, right? At least roaches have the common sense to stay away from the fucking light. They have learned that light equal death. This beetle was not so smart.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
Alright, here's your court-mandated cigarettes. Can I just take them back? Oh, that's a dick move. Your cigarettes, my cigarettes. Let's see here. Is that it? Yeah, we're good. He's not dying. He's just wounded. It's not the same thing. He'll get better. Assuming the grabber doesn't maul him to death in his sleep. Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about it too. I briefly thought for the first one, I grabbed a mug, and I was like, I don't have any paper around, so that's when it was clearly death time. And judging from the second one I've seen in the last week, I feel kind of vindicated, because it's clearly didn't learn their lesson.
I think they spotted us.
Hey. For those unaware, what I mean by mug and paper, right, is you put the mug over the bug, and then you slide the paper underneath, and that way you can take it outside and free it without killing it. I feel like most people are aware of that, but in case you're not, that's the general vibe I'm getting at. Is some people do catch and release. In this particular instance, I'm just like, I didn't have any paper on hand, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of this. You're insects. This is what you do. You make thousands of yourself, and say 1% of you will live. You know, you gotta wait for the exit to leave. Yeah, I usually try not to fuck with spider bros. Thankfully, I haven't had a murder a spider yet, I don't think. But spider bros are always spider bros, because spider bros keep away the other insects. It's just when they get a bit... I had to... Actually, no. Well, I didn't kill a spider. I did have to kill Daddy Longlegs, though. He was... Apparently, he got too deep in. It was next to my laundry, and I was like, I'm not dealing with you, Daddy Longlegs, sorry. Which, if you are unaware, Daddy Longlegs, they are not spiders. It's a very important distinction. They are a much more complicated word than spiders that I cannot recall. I think sorry, a general word can call them as harvestmen. It's not the scientific word for them, but you can just call them harvestmen. Hey. Oh no, sight range is very, very large now. So like, if there's open terrain between you and enemy, they will eventually spot you. I mean, it works out pretty well. I would say they go from spotting to shooting too quickly. It's very hit or miss, right? Like sometimes they go from like seeing you from across the map and shooting you immediately. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're next to you, but like will do their little animation of like searching for you first. It's weird. Yeah, on a whole, spider bros are usually okay. But I do live in an area that don't really have venomous spiders, so venomous spiders that will kill you. So like, it's usually okay. We do have, what's the, hold on here. We do have like a big venomous spider here and there, but they're very rare and like very reclusive. My sister who lives out in California, they have like the more common venomous spiders that just like to live out in the fucking open. So you have to be careful. I think in Australia, the thing is that when you live in Australia, I think it's just assumed that whenever you talk about an animal in Australia, it can kill you. Like, it's a given, right? You don't even need to say it can kill you. You can say, like, this animal's for Australia, so inherently that means it can kill you. Ever heard of the mythical drop bear? Exactly. We still need to find our T90. I haven't yet determined if a T90 actually has a hull yet. It feels like I could have sworn Merkava's had hulls though. Maybe it was a recent change for performance reasons. They're just trying to like, maybe, like, I hope they're not at that bottom of the barrel yet where they're like trying to find literally like any way to optimize performance at all. Like, and like nothing, there's just whatever they can find, they'll do. What's the Clem? Isn't there, there is a detachment of Imperial Guard who are like Arnold from Predator, right? The Kachans? Is it Kachans? I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but like Kachans, yeah, like Cachtan. Isn't there, like, they're from a death world, right? Isn't like the whole, like, yeah, their whole world, like, basically want to kill them. It's all like hostile plant life and shit. Amp, I guess the concern they probably have is that the amount of bandwidth and time it would require for them to go art asset by art asset to like basically streamline it, like make it more streamlined and just take that and just make it better. And what they're probably seeing too, Emp, is that what you're recommending would probably improve, like, performance for people on the graphical side, when a lot of it can be more on the computational side, like pathfinding, units firing, projectiles going off, physics and stuff like that. Like, for example, right, I run all high and I'm CPU bound. Like, my CPU is my constraint in this game for performance right now. Now, if I bump up to ultra, it becomes graphics sided, right? I don't feel safe. But on the particular game itself, it's very CPU intensive. Partially because they can't offload anything to the server, because there is no server. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, they could definitely, for people who are having issues on the GPU side, them doing a pass on the graphical fidelity of models in the game would help out a ton. But when you consider there might be hundreds, if not thousands, like 1,000+ models in the game that would each require like pretty serious work to probably optimize, it's a lot of man hours. I know Terraru has access to a few, not dev tools per se, but he's done some reverse programming of the game. So I wonder if he could actually read like the actual live poly counts from the game. So I know in engine, right? I'm not sure if this is possible outside of the engine, but in engine you can look at the poly counts of each model in the game, right? And tell like where the big you know take-ups are.
Getting there.
Did not see any T90s though. The game's trying to hide T90s from us now.
Again.
It doesn't want us to learn the truth. I mean, I've used it before to show off Nanite in the sense of like, hey, by the way, you know, when you say there's a 33 million poly count toothy in the game, sure, but you're looking at the ripped raw file. The raw Nanite file, right? But you're not actually understanding what Nanite's doing in that context. Because Nanite is reducing that by a large factor. The example I used, I was showing like a 3 million, I think, poly count raw asset file from the Unreal Store. And then like even up close, like right next to it, like, you know, maybe 5 feet, like 5 units away in game, it was rendered down to 10K polys. So like it's very important to note that despite the files not being very streamlined from optimization standpoint, Nanite is doing its job of making them much smaller. The drawback to Nanite is going to be storage space, because it allows devs to use raw files or high fidelity files as their raw files, and then use those as the basis for Nanite.
Wake up, rinse and repeat.
No, I've had to do a lot of education. I'm not even like, I'm probably not 100% correct either, but I know the basics about how Nanite works, right? And it's not perfect either. Like, I do think, you know, Epic and Unreal did a lot of wrong things at the launch of Unreal Engine 5. They pushed it out way too early. Or rather, they hyped up Nanite way too much when the original version of UE5 did not have full Nanite support, right? There was lots of things you couldn't do with Nanite yet, despite them pushing it as like an all-in solution.
Everyone for themselves.
It could be textures too, like it's lots of different things, right? Why do you have collision? Or am I just seeing the... Do the tanks on different... Wait, hold on here. Are you telling me a tank on... What is wrong with Mesa? Mesa is such a fucking anomaly in this game. Also, get sniped, idiot. Get sniped, idiot. What is wrong with Mesa? Mesa is just the weirdest fucking... You will go... Okay. Don't ever play Mesa. Like, put 100 hours into the game, never play Mesa, and then go play Mesa and tell me how different it feels. It feels like it violates every rule set up on the other maps. It's its own separate fucking thing. I swear, the Mesa experience is so fucking different from every other map in the game. It is truly its own goddamn entity. I wonder if, like, Mesa is, I don't know, it feels like it was made by someone else. No, I mean Mesa. I'm talking about Mesa. Like Mesa's, like, it's got its own spawn triggers in certain ways where spawns and despawns happen. It feels like it has its own units now, because, like, why does the Merkava we ran into on Mesa not have collision on its hull, but, like, the rest of them do on this map? Maybe it could be error catching, like if, for example, they have some issue with pathfinding, they just take off. I'm not sure if you can, like, if you can do that mid game or not. Maybe you probably can. Or they just, like, if there's an error on a box where they can't move, they just turn off collision on the box that's causing the issue. Maybe. Fucking wild.
Another day. Ooh, another reason to stay alive.
I'm gonna go back to Mesa now and see if I can actually go to the Hall of the Merkava. Yeah, like, maybe it could just, like, it could have been an issue with collision, right? Where they're doing some error catching, where if there's an error thrown, they just turn off the fucking thing causing the error. Pathfinding issue. You know, these two meshes are colliding, stopping the pathfinding. Turn off the mesh on the unit. Or turn off the collision box on the unit. It could have been, for example, their issue 2, when they were doing the spawn in on drones, coming from the ceiling and the floor, where, like, they would hit stuff and die, and so they just turned off the collision box to the point where they would collide and die.
Hard to breathe up here. Let the mask help.
I'm not sure if they do that though, Emp, right? I know we were talking about it last stream, but, like, yeah, it's definitely something I want to see eventually, right? Where, like, they turn these into bodies. I'm not sure if they do or not, though. I don't think they, I don't think they get replaced. Hey Jake, how's it going? So, Bob, what degree do you have? How do you, so you dropped out of college? Wait, so what do you mean by, are you saying your ex has college in the tens of thousands?
Hey, what the?
All right, Mr. T90, where are you? There, what did I just hear?
This is it. We decide what happens next.
Yeah, that can be rough. Especially if you want to be a teacher too, right? Go get tens of thousands of dollars in debt and, like, become a teacher and not be able to, like, ever pay it back. That's always wild. Hey,
The report is in.
you're not allowed to do that anymore. They fix pot shotting.
Everyone for themselves.
I mean, that's a thing though, unfortunately, right? People get their undergrads and like degrees that necessarily don't translate into a job. It is what it is. My sister had to go get her master's. I'm not gonna say what because I don't want to dox her myself, but like she had an undergrad degree in something that wasn't really going to get her a job, and she went to get her master's in something that did.
The last one standing.
Hey,
The report is in.
okay, I need you to stop moving because I need to see if you obey the laws of other Merkavas. Okay, maybe it is error catching because this one does seem to have hull collision. Did they just turn off the hull hitbox? I wonder if it's a particular spawn in Merkavas. Why are you the exception? Oh, no. Oh. I wonder. Okay, so it could be like error catching. I wonder if. I hope that's not how they're doing it. I really hope that's not how they're doing it. It's so outlandish. I can't possibly think that's how they're doing it.
Together.
So, I'm kind of curious if... I wonder if they're kind of storing their spawns as pooled objects, I guess. But, like, it's not pulling from a default config of that object. It's pulling from, like, an actual object they created on the map really right, and, like, have customly configured. So as opposed to, like, like, say, for example, you create a cache of, like, or, like, let's say you create a Merkava object, right? And like you have one Merkava object that you copy and create out of when you're trying to spawn new of them. I'm kind of curious if they have like a pool of like 10 Merkavas and for some reason like one of them has their hull turned off for collision.
This is it. We decide what happens next.
Yeah, it's not pulling from the same source. It's like literally pulling from a bunch of like objects that are basically hidden off map, or pooled too. They could just also have it pooled. There's the T90. I will say the Merkava I think we did see right was next to a bunch of mechs fighting. Yeah, basically a manually configured lister pool as opposed to a pool of prefabs that they just create on map load. And the whole spawn zones too, like, make me kind of feel like that's something weird that might happen. Yeah, you have collision. Actually, this is a good like, hold on, let's... What are you... Did you just hit that? You're not even aiming at it. What the... What in the tomfoolery is this? Leave me alone. I'm doing science.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Wait, hold on here. Let me in. Oh god. Wait. Leave me alone. Why can you perfectly go down? Is there any spot that's not safe from you? There we go, we're good. Hey. Okay, we found the safe spot, we're good. I think. Hey, stop it. Leave me alone. I'm just doing science. Anyway, it's not even aiming. It's literally doing, what's that fucking movie? It's doing Wanted to the bullets. Or the shells. Wild. No. Hey. No shooting. Yeah, the machine gun on the tanks don't do a lot of damage, which, thank God. I will say, the large lockbox definitely did a lot of work there. It should be absolutely riddled with bullets. I want these turrets to work. I know they're never gonna do anything. I want them to work so badly. It would look so fucking cool to see this whole place lit up with like fire going out outside the map.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
It's never gonna happen, but it would be fucking cool as shit. In a weird, wait, what? I spawned here, goddammit. I forgot about that spawn here. This is the problem having default spawn points you always use, is you forget when you actually spawn at the weird one. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be somewhere else. But no, it'd be funny, Emp, if like you could actually use that of like collecting metal scrap, of getting shot a lot. Just pull out the lead. Now, remember cover. That's he's not even hurt. Yeah, it's so fucking slow. You know what's kind of fucking crazy? Those rockets have better accuracy than my fucking gun does. At long range.
Steel may be our only option.
Well, I say that, I mean, sorry. I mean, is it precision or accuracy? I think they have better precision? I can't remember the two, right? One is like where you're aiming at, and two is where the grouping's at. I can never remember which was which. Oh god. I was distracted by the floor hind. That's fair, Clem. There is one poor developer who's apparently been given the task of being the optimization guy who has to go to the game and be like, what am I gonna tear out today? In a way, doesn't it feel like it gives you lots of power, though? Like, imagine if you're the person in charge of optimization, and you're just like, whatever I say they have to do for performance. I heard adding Teletubbies to the game will increase performance 1,000%. I cannot talk like that for very long. Holy shit, my voice feels like it's dying right now. I mean, it's kind of boring, but it's also like, it is kind of fun though if you get into it, just because it's like trying to solve the issue, or rather it's like it's a lot of like kind of just, it's, if you really like experimenting and just doing things and seeing what works by trial and error, I definitely think that might be a large aspect of it, right? Why can't I just add, there we go. We're running a Spectre M4. Let's do a Babel. Well, yeah, there's definitely a, like, especially if you get brought on later too, right? You have to go back to the old code to figure out what the hell's going on. And like, whenever you view someone else's work, it can be a really, like, especially if you're coming in new, right? Like, when you're viewing someone else's work, it can be really hard to dissect sometimes what they're doing. And it's also in the sense of, you don't know the implications of what their code does on regards to other things, or in regards to other things. And so, yeah, that's definitely a pain, right, of optimization, like optimizing code, is just because, like, hey, like, you gotta make sure this thing you're, you know, negating or removing doesn't have impacts on other things. Like, for example, removing tick rate and infantry speed. Because remember, they murdered tick rate in the name of performance, and or at least on infantry, right? That's at least what they implied that they did. I don't know exactly what they did, but it, like, from the patch notes, they kind of implied that, like, they did something with the tick rate on infantry, and it sounded like removing it. But after that patch, right, we have lots of bugs now, or weird anomalies, where infantry go real quick sometime. And that's kind of like a cost, like, optimization, right? Is like, hey, they thought this was a free W, but it actually had a cost somewhere. Now, should infantry speed be tied to tick rate? Maybe it shouldn't be, but maybe that was just oversight before, right? It's easy when you're developing something to just be like, hey, this solves the problem right now. Let's not make it more complex for later. And that's not even spaghetti code. Like, some people will label that as spaghetti code, but it's more in the sense of just like, hey, let's not make this very, like, modular, like, time-intensive solution for prototyping. And then the prototype turns into the actual, like, base for the code. Or base for, like, whatever thing you're trying to develop is. Like, for example, right, am I going, like, technically speaking, when you're taking inputs from a user, let's just say we're doing a basic program, right? And let's say, for example, we're trying to ask the user for, like, a number. And let's go even farther in the sense of, we want to make sure the user only enters a number that's an integer, so, like, no decimal points at all, right? And the user should know this, right? The user should only know that we're asking it for an integer. It should only enter in real whole numbers. Now, does that mean we should go through all of the effort of making sure they can't input things that aren't that? Or even if they can type in things that aren't that? And sometimes the answer will be yes, right? Because that just makes sense in the sense of we should always make sure what we're being fed is good. Especially when we're talking about a professional environment, right? But if we're just trying to do prototyping, right? Do we really need to bother with that level of, like, complexity for just the prototype? And the problem is always when that prototype turns into a actual full-fledged product. Yes, it is good practice to always sanitize your inputs like that, but like, are you really gonna do it for something that you think is gonna be like a hobbyist project, or just like a one-off, or just for yourself? Because actually, you don't need to, like, if the program's just for you, right? Do you really need to sanitize it? Because you know what to put in. It is good practice, but like, sometimes good practices costs time and money by extension. Trade-offs, right? But like, if you can like understand, for example, you can say that they were prototyping, like they were making this game of prototyping, right? And it was kind of just a vibe game they were doing together with friends, and then it blows up into a real project, a real project, and now they have the issues of like, hey, you know, things we were just doing for fun or things we were just doing for ourselves are now part of the foundation for our basis for a game that will be exposed to real users. I'm not saying this is the case, right? But like, it's very easy to see where things can kind of spiral and go wrong in such scenarios. Why am I not hitting you? Hey. I wouldn't even say it, like this is a bit deeper than vibe coding, because this has existed before even like AI too, right? I will usually so Shelby, it depends on the character. For Bagman and Maskman, I will usually keep going until they're above 2K. For the others, it kind of depends on like really what you feel is a good spots at. I generally stop somewhere between 10 and 20. The only character that's really an exception is Maskman, because Maskman I think needs to be near 25 to actually get above 2K. All right, wait, hold on here. No, it's good, it's fine. I guess I was hitting the wall. Just the spread. And the reason why Shelby the 2K threshold at least was important, I'm not sure if it still is or not because I haven't really tried, was the 2K threshold was the threshold to stop the grabber from one-shot killing you with its grab. I don't know if that's still the case or not.
This is it. We decide what happens next.
No problem. And I guess for the other characters too, it kind of depends on the point of like what unlocks you want. Like for me, like the big thing with Scav Mule and not Scav Mule, Scav Girl, not Scav Mule. Scav Girl is making sure you have the equipment runner unlocked, and then for Old Man, I think it's having the Pack Mule unlocked. Yeah, Genshin, it's like, if this was like originally a, like, from I think the inclination that like Rello gave off, and I think they gave off too, it sounded like this was kind of just like a hobbyist project between a few friends that kind of blossomed into like an actual factual game, right? It doesn't excuse like any like bad issues they have or poor code that they have, but it makes it understandable, right? In the sense of, if I'm just making something for myself that I don't expect to show other people, I might not go through the process of like sanitizing inputs or just like doing lots of like comments, right? It's good practice too, in case it ever doesn't be that, but like, it's understandable why it's not sometimes.
I'm the last one standing.
So, like, the basic foundation for the lore emp is that, like, eventually... The whole thing's, like, essentially megastates formed. You have Europa, Eureska, and then Eurasia. And then eventually through... Like, eventually war broke out, right? A war of resources broke out. And, you know, nukes flew. And essentially we're, like, in the area of post-apocalypse where, like, all of the human leadership's mostly dead. So it's, if not all dead, so it's just AIs running the war now. Also, why grabber actually, did they make it bigger? I think it's still, no, it's still too small. Still way too small. The child grabber. They have no desire to keep scale. Oh, so the team, I know that they're mainly comprised of a bunch, at least initially, they were comprised of a bunch of out-of-work artists from other studios. And, like, this is a collection of, like, their art books or art, like, portfolios they've designed over the years that not necessarily for another project, right? Just for themselves. And so we're kind of seeing, like, a kit bash of all of that. And so the game was originally supposed to be an art book, like not an actual factual game, but just like an art book. And it kind of spiraled into being a game eventually. Yeah, they might have melded them a bit too to make them more compatible, but like it is a kit bash, right? Like there are certain things that work here that don't necessarily feel like they fit together perfectly. Like for example, I would personally say the setting doesn't really feel like it fits modern weaponry. At least modern looking weaponry, right? Like if you had like M16 that's been like grimdarked, sure, but it doesn't feel like a base M16 belongs in a setting like this. Or like a bunch of aftermarket parts, right? Like you have a bunch of like EOTechs and shit like that in the sense of like, are these factories really pumping these out? And apparently they are. So like, that's a thinking about the game's lore, I guess, that I don't necessarily agree with, or not agree with, but like. But no, yeah, the game was originally supposed to be an art book for like out of work, basically artists, and then eventually it just became a game. And now we're kind of here, I guess, I don't feel safe. We're now, you know, in the game, you know, they've been developing for like 2 or 3 years at this point. It's like the actual development, you could say, has been longer than that because it's, you know, based off artwork they've done like a decade ago, if not more, and maybe they've had ideas in the past about it, you know, a decade ago. But to my knowledge, like the actual dev work has only started like 2 to 3 years ago. They might have had prototypes before that though for like very basic shit. Longer than that again though, but like that's getting to the point of like, hey, we're just doing very basic prototyping. I want to leave, but you're not being very kind in regards to letting me leave.
What happens next?
You wouldn't leave, it wasn't my fault. Drone factory of this map. You're not making this map's case any better. Oh no, they paint a very clear picture of what's going wrong. Yeah, no, 100%. I have no issues at all seeing where they went wrong. Yeah, no. And just like, and on a planning level too, it feels like there were ideas but never an actual plan. We're dealing with artists here. It's all vibes. For better or for worse, it's all vibes. I would like to leave, please. This accursed map with all of its fucking drones everywhere.
Well, we're still here. Must count for something.
All right. We can do downtown, I guess. All right, red entrance 2. Let's see here. Well, that's kind of the problem, Clem, right? Is the things that would help add kind of order to the chaos would not having the games be all vibes. Like one of the first Q&As they did, right? They kind of alluded to that they like have a very open philosophy, or a very yes and philosophy. And I've talked to Miles about this before too, and he agrees with me, which is the weird part too, right? Of like, hey, yeah, like, you know, there needs to be like a filter for the ideas, but it doesn't feel like there was, right? It's like, I'm not sure if you're understanding where I'm getting at, right? In the sense of, there has to be a cohesive design, like, person in charge, right? Whether that be Miles or someone else, like, there needs to be, like, a check of, like, hey, does this work in the game we're trying to make? And part of that, too, is figuring out what game you're trying to make, which I would say is a decent degree of, like, where there's a lot of confusion from the player base on, is, like, people are kind of confused, like, what is the game being made here going to be? Because everyone kind of has their own ideas of what that's going to be, because they haven't really said it, right? At least not concisely. I definitely get the vibes that they think they've said it, but I can kind of feel from the community that they don't really feel the same way. And that is like, that's a real problem though too, right? That's just a communication problem, but like it is. There's always a good, whenever you're having a conversation, right? It's always a good idea to make sure you're like, you and the person you're talking to have a common understanding of what you guys are talking about, right? Otherwise it's just confusion. It's always a good thing just to have a sanity check and be like, hey, I'm talking about X, Y, and Z. Are we on the same page? And I'll see it like, okay. I see it all the, like, I know I can come off as pretty overbearing sometimes, I think, in Discord, like overly corrective, but like that's kind of my philosophy though, right? In the sense of, it's very easy for a conversation on Discord to, like, just via text, to kind of spiral and tangent out of control. And so whenever I usually be corrective on Discord, it's usually me trying to re-steer the conversation back to the original point. Because like I was just talking on the Ashes Discord like yesterday, for just to kind of get to know some people on there who are active, and like I already had multiple instances, right, where like we were talking about one specific thing in Ashes, and people were already trying to like tangent the conversation off to different points, and their points were still relevant, right? Like they were talking about PvP corruption and how that impacts certain things, but we were specifically focused on how the size of guilds and how the structure of the game makes alliances, and guilds having alliances cause stagnation. And you can make the argument or parallels how corruption and how that mechanic works kind of ties into PvP and guild PvP, but they're not the same thing. And I had to correct the person basically being like, hey, like we're not talking, like your point is relevant, but we're not talking about that. Like if we want to talk about corruption, that's a different conversation entirely, and I usually will probably agree with you that corruption's not a great mechanic, at least not working as intended, but it's not the conversation we're having here. And that happens on Discord way too much. So it's always a good idea to like try to make sure like having that common understanding what this conversation is about, and trying to make sure it stays self-contained. Because it's very easy to spiral out on Discord for sure, on like what the conversation's about, and you kind of get lost. Like there's been lots of points on the conversation on Discord where like I'll be like 15 minutes in, 30 minutes in, like what the fuck are we talking about anymore? or it'll be cyclical too, right? Survivor, that's a big aspect too, right? Like I'm sure in an environment full of friends, that's very vibes based. I feel as a Survivor, it's very hard to be the no guy for sure. No one wants to be the person ruining the fun. Well, like, yeah, there's that, like, I'm not saying you're wrong, Clem, because I definitely feel like the same way. Like, the stealthy anti-shooter is what the game really originally felt like it's supposed to be to me, too, from the PR. But then you have the game not being that, and then people really leaning into the game not being that, right? Like, you have the people, like, with, like, you know, having bazillions of credits and, like, codexes left and right, and, like, going to use the railgun every day. And it's like, I'm not saying that they're wrong for doing that, but, like, that's the kind of the issue, right? Is like, is the game supposed to be what they're currently playing it as, and like, is that the intended design goal, or it's supposed to be like that? Because like, I'm not saying either game is wrong, but it caters to a different person. If you want to make a grimdark co-op looter shooter, that's perfectly all fine and well. It's not personally what I signed up for. That doesn't make the game bad, just misleading. Now, it would be a bad it would be a bad stealth shooter for sure. You could say that, but if it's not trying to be that, then why would you make it that, right? Yeah, and that's usually why I really critique Fundog's communication style, just because it feels like it would be something very easy to clear up via just a post. And maybe they're doing an anniversary, like, I did talk to Miles a month ago, or about a month ago, and maybe we'll see a video with the next patch that might reaffirm their design choices, or reaffirm their vision. I don't know that to be true, but maybe. I've watched Rillo videos like once or twice, mainly for source material. Rillo was not the person who got me into this game. I was following this game from their own PR material, not from Rillo. I only ever watched Rillo after I started playing the game. He does very good, like, high professional work on his videos. His videos are very well edited. So if he is doing his videos, he is doing an amazing job editing his videos. Like, first and foremost, I have nothing but praise in that. But like, I will say, they're kind of in a, whenever I have to cross the bridge, it definitely feels like I'm walking over a corpse. I would say our relationship is tumultuous. That might not be how they describe it or he describes it. I would consider it, from my personal viewpoint, as a tumultuous relationship. No, like, in the edit, like, Rillo is a very good editor, 100%. He does very well done work, very professional work. Now, I do think he's maybe a bit too much of a hype man, but that's just probably personal differences, right? I don't usually, I feel like calling him a cheerleader is misleading, or a cheerleader is diminishing. But in a way, I would say his work is very, like, advertising cheerleader friendly, right? I'm not saying in all of his work he's like that, but like, at least for the Fundog material, it kind of felt like it was a bit of an advertisement. A very well done one, though. And you could say the same thing about my videos too, right? You could technically call my videos advertising, which is perfectly fair. Nice chunk. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, in what capacity is always important, Game Shift. I would say the bridge is there. I have an open channel if I need to use it, but it definitely feels like I don't have a lot of equity to work with. And once again, that's me reading into it probably way too much, but that's just what I do. And to be fair, what would clear that up is communication, right? Fucking using words. Oh, 100%. Like, they, like, for all of their faults, Fundog has done a very good job of making performance better. They have spent, like, the last year working on performance. It has been by far, like, I will tell you right now, if you want to get your critique of the game looked at, leave a negative review. I generally do not like saying this because it means that negative reviews, like, are more likely because you want to get seen. But if you really truly want to get your complaint heard, leave a negative review with your complaint and be descriptive. Don't just say game's bad. Be descriptive on what actually is wrong that's causing you to leave a negative review, and it will be much more likely to get addressed. For the vast majority of, if not all of the Discord stuff, it has to go through Nightmare first. Nightmare curtails that stuff, to my knowledge. To my knowledge, to get your feedback from Discord to them, Nightmare has to see it and probably agree with it. But a negative review, to my knowledge, goes straight to them. I heard... Yeah, I missed a few of my quests already. I heard that you can just shoot these things, so I'm kind of curious. Explosives. Yeah, like, reviews like that don't really help them at all, but, like, if you're trying to actually, like, get a specific complaint heard, like a bug or, like, an issue, leave a negative review. Now, naturally, if they fix it, change it to positive, that's a huge part people miss out on. But, like, hey, if you want to get something heard, that's the way to do it. Because that was the reason why they focused on performance so heavily, is because so many of the initial reviews were about performance. Like, you can look at the last year of development. A lot of their last year of development, it was solely focused on responding to, like, the first wave of complaints. I mean, yeah, Game Shift, we talked about this before, right? But sometimes it's because people don't know how to quantify or, not quantify, but, like, actually describe. They can understand they don't like the game. They can understand, like, the game doesn't make them feel good or, like, have fun, but they can't understand why that's the case, right? And because, like, if that's happening to a person, like, 30 minutes into the game, an hour into the game, 2 hours into the game, do they really want to spend more time on that negative experience writing out their you know, their thoughts, or they just want to leave and go do something fun, right? Hey, leave me alone. Yeah, 100%. No, no, no. Fucking shotgunner's bad. Oh my god, it's so fucking scary. Can you explosives do a lot of damage if they actually explode next to you. Holy shit, it does work. It just takes a lot of bullets, okay. I wouldn't probably, like, end up doing that because that was a lot of bullets, but it does work. Like, that was like a whole mag.
Everyone for themselves.
It definitely wouldn't be my go-to, but it does work. I mean, yeah, it's on them though, but like the problem is Game Shift on the degree, like sure, it might be on them, but like, are they gonna give a shit if you're like, as a developer, being like, hey, you know, could you give me like better feed, like, well, rather, I don't know, it's weird, right? Like, if I'm a person who's upset with the game, right? I only have like a very minimal amount of time invested in the game itself. Do I really feel like I should bother giving them like an actual well thought out critique of the game, or just tell them that their game is bad?
I think they spotted us. That's right.
Hey Gaspar, no, like there's a reason why I don't play multiplayer. No, you are correct. The multiplayer experience right now is very rough, especially considering like the game is a pretty small player base right now. And so like you're playing with people across the country or across the world. Why can't I just, you know, I have a solution to this. Wait, why did you go down so quickly? What? Is it random? Why did you take, I'm so confused right now. No, peer-to-peer multiplayer is a mess, and like the player base being small, and that means you playing with lots of different people across the world with high or lower pings than you. It just, yeah, peer-to-peer plus high ping plus indie game just kind of is a rough experience, and it is what it is. It's unfortunate. I would say if you can try to find people near you to play, location-wise, it will help out a lot, just because the lower ping you have, the better peer-to-peer is. When you were a host, it's a vastly different experience. Yeah, I guess it's a hitbox thing, so I guess just aim at the joint on this side. Huh. Weird. Alright, no. But no, I mean, I do agree with you. That's why I don't play multiplayer right now. It's a very miserable experience. Thankfully, though, I would actually say the only content you're really missing from playing with a group is the railgun. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not really a big fan of the railgun. Hey, Toothy. Bye, Toothy. Not really. That would... I'm not saying it's impossible, but considering how far along they are, it kind of changes the game a lot. It also... The reason why peer-to-peer is important for a company like them, right, is it vastly reduces the overhead cost to them. Okay, so what peer-to-peer... Typically speaking, right, when you're like going to a website or you're joining a server, right, that server is a box somewhere physically in the world that you connect to and is running the server-side client of the game. Essentially, as opposed to running the full game itself, it's running the simulation of the game. It might not be like literally rendering what's like, it might have like a gamified model of what's going on, right? So as opposed to say, for example, like drawing the game itself, it's just going to be focusing on the calculations of where things are moving on a grid coordinate system, right? Essentially, it's a way of handling a bunch of what the game is doing without having it be on the player's machines. Or could be used for authoritative purposes, right? So let's say, for example, you're playing Counter-Strike. What the server does is it kind of makes the whole... It first provides the host of which you join to actually play the game on, but it also functions as the authority for the game, right? Like, let's say, for example, you know, when you like, this is not... There's thousands of different ways of doing this, so this is just an example. Let's say, for example, I push my trigger on my gun, or push my mouse button, right? It tells the server, and it might shoot on my screen, right? There's client-side stuff and there's server-side stuff. But essentially, you're telling the server you're firing your gun at this second, and it does the calculations for you on where that projectile is going. It will then see if your projectile hits anything, and then send that to the thing it hit, if it's another player, or send it back to you, confirming that you hit. And then the stuff will happen, right? Essentially, it's the way that it's the area where things are being processed, right? Like damage calculations. And it's a central authority, and it, you know, it's usually like in a server farm too. Like, it usually has still interconnection too. Like, for example, you're not gonna have the server go offline from like a weird connection issue, right? Or like latency issues, right? Because it's on it's on actually like big wired internet. As opposed to that, right? Essentially, what peer-to-peer does in some instances is, and not all instances, so this is how one version of peer-to-peer works, is the game will instead choose, or like the host of the game will actually be the server, right? So as opposed to the server, this like neutral server being the authoritative figure, the host of the peer-to-peer environment is now the authority figure. So imagine, for example, if like your connection to this person's slow, if they have internet issues themselves, things start getting lost. Packets start getting lost, and like the instructions you send to the server might be getting lost. And it also means too, right? If say for example we're playing a competitive game, and the server treats whoever, like let's say for example me and you on our screens shoot each other at the exact same time, and we should kill each other because we shoot at the exact same time, the bullets hit us at the exact same time, we both should die. If you are not the host, if you live, let's say, half a second away in latency terms, the server treats the host's inputs first, right? Because there's no latency, which means, hey, you know, the host wins. And that's usually a big issue in regards to peer-to-peer competitive multiplayer. That was a big issue with Call of Duty Black Ops back in the day, right? Because Black Ops switched over from servers to actual peer-to-peer, and hosts did always have an advantage. It might have not been a big advantage, but it was an advantage. So that's like an issue with peer-to-peer, right? But generally experienced, the main issue this game's having with peer-to-peer, right, is there seems to be some desync issues where, essentially, you're able to go through certain walls and entities as a player, or I don't know. It's hard to describe because I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but there's lots of issues in peer-to-peer, and lots of them seem like desync issues, right? Where the player who's not the host, right? Their game is telling them one thing, but the server host, the peer-to-peer host, is telling them something differently, and the server host is the authority figure, right? And so there's a disconnect there that they have to reconcile, and sometimes it's not reconciled correctly, and it ends up with you going through the floor. I think the original Black Ops EMP is the first Call of Duty game to do that, which is why it's so controversial. And like there was lots of like, you can probably still find them on YouTube, right? Of people like analyzing the host advantage of Black Ops. Murphy, it's not game dev I'm talking about just general networking. So like there are aspects of game dev I have no idea about. On a very surface level I do, but it's more about tech. Like the server and peer-to-peer, it's not only used in games, it's used in professional environments elsewhere too, right? Now, mostly it's all server-based because reasons like, you know, security and shit. But peer-to-peer is not only used for games. But like if you do any tech background, Murphy, and you do any like networking classes will cover both server side, and usually they'll cover peer-to-peer. Because they're both they're ubiquitous, right? They're both very common forms of doing it. And I will personally describe myself, Murphy, as a hobbyist game dev at the absolute extreme and most, and like the most liberal circumstances, I would call myself that. Conservatively, I wouldn't. I would call myself a tech professional first. Yeah, I did Network Plus out of undergrad, the CompTIA Network Plus, because I thought about networking might be fine. But I eventually steered away. Networking sounds very fun, and like it's a lot of I got offered a job at a college, but it would have been like a networking kind of, it would have been laying cord as opposed to like actually doing networking. Mainly costs. So like for example, let's take for example Tarkov, right? Tarkov has servers, right, that they run their game off of, and they offload a lot of their NPC, like AI, if not all of it, to their servers, which helps out immensely for performance. If you ever run like single player Tarkov on your machine and emulate a server, or basically just run a server locally on your machine and treat it as a server, you'll notice that you get way worse performance even with a good machine because your machine now has to run the AI locally. And so it's a way of you kind of offloading performance and kind of making sure there's like, in a PvP environment, it is kind of important for there to be integrity, right? And like even outside of cheating itself, if people don't believe in your product, right, as a competitive environment or as a fair environment, you're going to lose quite a few users. But the main thing though, Game Shift, is that servers are expensive. Running servers constantly 24 hours a day, and especially for a large game, especially we'll get into scaling in a second too. But like running servers for a prolonged period of time takes a lot of money, and it's a constant overhead drain. And so like, let's say for example, you're Fundog, right? And you're like, hey, we're a small indie game and we have like, let's say 2 years of runway. If we do peer-to-peer, you might have to cut that in half if you do early access plus servers. Now, the other problem though too is scaling. That was a big problem in Tarkov, especially during the earlier days, is before COVID, right? There wasn't, it's gotten better over time. People have gotten better at doing this because they've had to experience it firsthand. A big issue was this. Like, let's say for example, you like are a live service game, or not even live service, just like a video game, right? Like Tarkov, and you know, as the wipe goes on, right, you atrophy users, right? Let's say for example, you start a wipe with like 100k users, and over time, let's say you lose like 1k a day, and it gets less and less, and let's say like you said that end of a wipe you have like 20k players a day, right? And you've scaled down your servers to only support like, let's say 30 to 40k, because you don't want to pay for a lot of servers you're not using, right? So you scale it down over time. But let's say for example, you release a patch, and this patch is blown up and like everyone's been hyped for it. And so let's say for example, you even jump up past your 100k users and go up to 200k. And now you're suddenly having to ramp up your server infrastructure to support those users. Like that happens all the time in game and just tech in general too, right? With big tech releases, is that if you can't anticipate correctly the amount of users are going to bring in, you might not have enough servers on hand to actually handle that load. And when you have to start scaling up servers quickly and massively, it's very rough. So, yeah, Hell Ever Shoot is a good example, right? Hell Ever Shoot had that issue very early on, where they did not allocate enough servers early on to handle the amount of players they had. So basically, it essentially ended up with players unintentionally DDoSing the Helldivers servers. Now, it wasn't like a malicious DDoS because it was just users trying to use the platform, but it essentially was a denial of service attack just by the users. But every single server costs money, right? There is the overhead electricity for running the servers, there's the actual like hardware costs of their servers, there's the people you need to pay to maintain them, even if they're in-house or a third party. And every time you scale up and scale down that costs money, right? And so that's a lot of complexity, it's a lot of overhead, and that's why, for example, peer-to-peer is usually preferred for like small games like this, for for small indie games. Especially when they're not doing PvP. No, it's a big issue with MMOs. Yeah, you'll see it all the time with MMOs, right? Because they'll like, for a launch, have like 100 servers, and as atrophy happens and like the servers empty out, they'll have to merge servers together, right? And the way that MMOs have been trying to solve that now have been sharding. Essentially, they'll have one world, but lots of instanced elements of those worlds, right? So that the world will never feel empty, and they don't have to scale up and down.
I think they spotted us.
Or rather, when they scale up and down, it doesn't affect you as a user, right? They'll still do that scaling up and down over time. They'll, like, make less shards, or like, essentially, they don't have to close down servers or merge servers, which will directly affect users. That was a big issue with New World, right? Is New World had an issue. It happens with every MMO too, but I'll use New World as an example because like it's the most present in my mind, was that New World like blew up to 1 million players at launch, right? Like New World had a very, very big launch of 1 million fucking players, and then it dropped off super fucking hard, and servers emptied out, and they had to do merges. And like, like the gameplay itself, like just constantly caused atrophy. And so servers constantly would die after months, like not even months, but like a month or two. They constantly had to do merges. And the game would like liven up again after the merge, but like it would die down again eventually, very quickly. Because the gameplay loop itself kind of created that scenario no matter what you did. I can't get into the faults of New World because New World had so many different fucking faults. Yeah, I mean, like, game shift, that gets into the weird, like, maybe? Explosives are weird in this game. I don't know how they do explosives, but, like, the explosive damage in this game is so weird. I do know, I can't remember, like, I haven't played peer-to-peer in a while, game shift, but, like, one of the biggest calling cards of peer-to-peer was, like, your reduced rate of fire if you weren't the host. I'm not sure if they fixed that or not. But sometimes if you had, like, high ping and you played peer-to-peer, your gun would just not function properly. New World had lots of issues, and unfortunately, I never want to advocate for someone losing their job, but I definitely felt like lots of higher ups at Amazon Games should have been fucking fired over that shit. Like Amazon, like New World's a great example of when you have too many, I think, bureaucrats running a game. And then this is kind of the example of where you have the opposite. There is a balance. A healthy balance. Yeah, and unfortunately that is like kind of given with Amazon, right? Is Amazon's very bureaucrat heavy. Basically, that's usually how corporations work, 100%. Or the people who do get fired at higher ups, they get golden parachutes. In my current degree, I'm working with a lot of MBAs, and I know I already knew this to be true. I 100% know this. I personally do not like professional networking. It feels cringy and fake to me. And I mean, that's probably what it actually is, but people are okay with that. And personally, shit like that to me just rubs me the wrong way. So, but like, because I'm so closely ingrained with the business college here, I have to deal with lots of MBAs and like the networking that goes along with that. And it just feels just so unnatural to me personally. But like, that's basically me interacting with the bureaucrats, essentially, their future bureaucrats, who that is like essentially what they're gauged on, right? Is, yeah, sure, they need to have basic business skills for the most part, but it's really on how well do they network and engage with other people in their ilk. It's an entirely different skill set, basically. No, it like, yeah, like going back to school to get my my master's and a master's of science in basically data science is like reaffirmed that like, it's not data science, but I'm using data science as very, if I said the actual degree, it would probably help dox me, and I don't really want that. So like, I'm being very, it is not a data science degree, but it's akin to a data science degree. But like, no, it's kind of reaffirmed my opinion of MBAs. I'm not saying what they do is not valuable, but I'm saying they are, it definitely feels like the emphasis for them is much more based on personal skills and networking as opposed to how well they run a business. And I guess you could say that running a business is lots of personal skills, right? Which is fair. It's just that how artificial it feels to me feels kind of fake. It doesn't, like, I'd much prefer genuine conversations that actually get somewhere as opposed to just, like, nowhere small talk. Do I not have numlock on? There we go, I didn't have numlock on. I was trying to use numpad. For those young kids out there who don't use numpad, just get into a job that requires you to use Excel, and then you'll become a numpad pro. I'm not gonna lie though, like, hey, just learn Excel. You're like, but there's so much better technology out there to use other than Excel. Just use Excel. It is everywhere, like Jim Bob. I'm not trying to say it's only confined within the NBA sphere, but there's a certain emphasis in that area where it seems very, very important. It is everywhere. You are not wrong though, 100%. Oh yeah, yeah, Excel, like, Excel is eternal. I can tell you that right now, like, no matter, you will be using Excel, like, if you are 5 years old right now, and which I doubt you are watching this stream, but like, let's say for example in 5 years, in 20 years, if you learn how to use Excel, you'll still be using Excel. It will still be everywhere. Now it might be Microsoft Office fucking 2036 or 2046, but Excel will exist. Excel is eternal. You cannot escape it. As much as I prefer other programs, companies do not want to change, especially old people. The problem is this, right? Old people grew up using Excel, and so they make young people use Excel. And those young people turn into old people who want people who are young to use Excel. It's a vicious cycle. If you just learn how to, if you learn Excel, you learn macros, you learn how to VBA script, you will be a god among men.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
You will never not want for a job if you show that you were very, very good with Excel. You will find a job somewhere. They will lay off tech workers by the dozen, but the person who knows how to use Excel like a pro, they will never let you go. I mean, if we want to talk about dinosaurs, that's about fucking COBOL. We don't need to get into COBOL. COBOL is something that should actually just genuinely die. But it won't, because it, like, you know, too much shit runs on it. Oh. For those who don't know COBOL, COBOL is basically a very basic business programming language that so much of the financial world is built on. In business world too, not just finances, but hey, leave me alone. But like, very old legacy systems will run on COBOL. And the people who were the COBOL wizards are getting old and retiring. And so there's been actually a push recently for like people to get trained on COBOL again. Clem, in my personal opinion, like, if canonically their internal lore is that if you bring anything big to the surface, you get hunter killers on you, and the hunter killers follow you until you die, or until they get rid of you, or until you like leave the map, it would reason to believe that you bringing your railgun would cause even a bigger response than that. Like, if they notice when you shoot 10 people and they get really upset, you bringing a big giant fuck you gun to the surface feels like it should warrant that response even larger, right? So like, I'm always of the opinion, in this particular game with this particular canon, this particular lore, that they should just like not have things like that. Now, the unkillables should be killable by other entities on the map, right? Like other NPCs. You don't need to let the player kill them, but like, I don't like the railgun. It's also a factor too, where just like the railgun being a point and click adventure just is boring to me. It's kind of why, for example, I advocated for like, hey, add recoil back to the game. And we have recoil again, right? Now, do I think it's overtuned? Probably, yeah. It needs that, like, I mean, this is not bad, but we're shooting a 9 mils like with a slow rate of fire. but it does feel like the recoil is a bit overtuned. Like, I personally do not mind the amount of recoil in the game currently, but I also understand that some people do not like having, like, this is not Counter-Strike recoil. It's recoil, it's not Counter-Strike recoil, but I definitely could easily see them dampening it by half and it still being okay. I just want some, and the main reason why I want recoil in the game is more to add the feeling of different guns into the game, right? Like, if you have an SMG that's a low rate of fire and like low recoil, right? It feels different than an RPK or a painless, right? Having that contrast between the guns feels important. And before, when it was all just literally like in the last patch, there was no recoil at all of the guns felt even more the same. So like, they've done this, the first step in fixing it by adding the global recoil back, but now they need to fine tune it gun to gun, or by like, even just classification of gun.
This is it. We decide what happens.
100%, like, Pixel, well, and all of the units the railgun should kill, all of those units should be able to die passively in the game too. To other things, right? Like, the reason why they feel bad is because they are unkillable to everything for the most part, right? Now, I don't really know, like, the problem is, I guess, in some capacity, is that, like, let's say, for example, you make mothers killables by weapons, right? Are there really anything, is there usually anything around a mother's, like, domain that would actually kill her outside of you? Like, maybe occasionally a corpse tank? It's kind of a separate issue, kind of, sort of, but like it does kind of warrant discussion, I guess, or warrant thoughts. And personally, I just don't like the railgun. I don't like the railgun at all because it just the implementation just feels kind of forced, right? It doesn't really add any, like. I know for people like going like monster world hunting, right? It felt really cool for them. I was bored of the railgun in like the first week because I like, okay, this is novel. I like the Bunko quest line more than I like the railgun. Just because all the railgun is basically pointing and clicking, right? Like, there's an arbitrary requirement of getting 3 people to put the gun down for you. But like, after that, it's literally just point and click. There's no like difficulty to it at all, right? I guess you can consider the aiming the difficult part, I guess. But no, like, that's another reason why, like, for example, I just don't really... I have not missed multiplayer at all. I'm gonna use the elevator. I feel like the elevator might be safer than this. I definitely said feels might be safer. I would like to leave, please. Oh my god, you're so slow. Yeah, I think you kind of appreciate how kind of, not derpy per se, but like, I don't know. It definitely does make it feel less atmospheric. I do agree with you, Club. I would probably have to think and actually like write out the reasons why I feel like that's the case. It's not a simple thing to actually peg down on why it feels less atmospheric. It definitely feels like a bunch of small different things together that makes it feel less atmospheric. Yeah, fruit part, I don't usually try to engage in, like, there's so many bad actors on Steam discussions, it's not worth really perusing at all. You have to go really out of your way to get banned on Steam forums, so like, lots of trolls live there. There is a glitch you can do to get around that, but like, even with the glitch, and the reason why I don't talk about the glitch too much on the stream is I don't want to get it removed. I know I said I don't think they watch the stream at all, which is perfectly fair, but I don't even want to risk it by talking about it, because I do want to give, for the people who really give too many shits about the railgun and really want to use it, there is an exploit out there you can do to use it with one person. And I won't cover it on stream because naturally if I show how to do it, it might get removed. I wonder if the other bug still exists too. Well, that's the great that's the great thing about Discord though, right? It has to go through Nightmare to get to them. I would say confidently 95% confident that, and once again, this is me pulling numbers on my ass, but I do feel like this is probably accurate. I would say I'm 95% confident that they do not read their Discord forums. Which is fair, there's a lot there, but like the only way it gets to them through Discord is if it gets filtered through Nightmare, if I recall. Or if I think. Yeah, I think like the only problem network with that, like in an ideal world, like the dog should almost function like the xenomorph from Alien Isolation. But like once again, that's like the amount of work to have AI at that level, right? Alright, we've done the scrapyard yet. Let's go over to Gunhead for a bit too. You know what, why not? I don't want to hit anything anyway. Who wants to hit stuff with their guns? Out of back up. You know what? I'm not sure if Bob is still here or not, so I think it's now time to use this. I could see like a basic bayonet animation in Survivor, but not much more than that. I don't like how the melee locks you in place very aggressively. So like that plus just a bayonet animation I think would be enough. It's not a melee game at heart, right? So it doesn't need to focus too much on melee, but just like basic melee, like a basic bayonet stab, and then like being able to move while you melee. 'Cause like right now the melee animation's like really rough, right? It locks you in place, it's kind of slow. Badly rough. Hey, Camphor. Now everyone, remember, if Bob asks, I did use the C96. He just wasn't here for it, so that's his fault, not mine.
We have the munitions.
I killed like 5 cyborgs.
We have the munitions.
Hashtag efficient.
The threat.
Some of them do actually, Blood. I don't think they use them, but some of them do. I would just honestly prefer Fruit Par if they just strayed so far away from that design space. If they're... I want things to not be so active, right? I feel like if they do stuff that leads into active, it really... it betrays the idea of a scavenger. I mean, I would say though, Warboss, if I was a European soldier, I would absolutely put a bayonet or something for Cyborg, you know, Cyborg on the end of my gun. Like, when cyborgs have to run at you to kill you, it definitely feels like having a pointy stick at the end of your gun would be very important. I don't think they can carry large parts at all, Kleb. Unless the scav mule can, but I'm pretty sure you can bring multiple scav mules if you really wanted to. I don't think the scav mule has a large slot though. But like, my whole thing is basically, right, like, this game is like, it's about scavengers, right? It's not about like mercenaries or like active participation. You're survivor first and foremost, and you're a mercenary maybe later on, or a mercenary is maybe temporary work you pick up here and there, right? Going for the big bads of the local sector feels like you're really delving into like the active part of being a scavenger, which is perfectly fine and well sometimes, right? But I definitely should take, I think it should take a back seat to the more passive elements of scavenging, right? Like, I can understand if their concern is it might not appeal to a broader audience, but when I think of scavenging, right, I think of like looking through ruins and like, you know, dangerous areas for useful supplies, right? Not necessarily creating those supplies myself. Oh no, like for those unfamiliar, the reason why I mean with the saw earlier, the saw is insanely inaccurate. All guns have bloom to this level, but it kicks in usually later for them, right? But like, you can just kind of see, like, the gun spread is very aggressive. And for the saw, it kicks in very quickly. And so you end up drawing a silhouette very quickly. I mean, it'd be cool too, just accurate, like, you don't need to have that dramatic of a spread to make your bullets miss. Hello, Y7. Yeah, do me a favor, if you're on the Discord and you ever see Y7 on the Discord, right? He is the #1 mom lover, like 100%, like it's not even close. So like if Nightmare says some weird shit in Discord saying that he's number one, it's really Y7, okay? Let's set that straight. Y7 is the #1 mom lover, and it's not even close. Y7 posts daily his love for mom. Nightmare only posts goon shit about mom. So very clearly one of them is actually properly obsessed with mom, and one of them is unhealthily obsessed with mom. So we need to reward the one who is properly obsessed. It's called positive reinforcement. No, it's great to know that Y7 is not a goon. Y7 is just very much in love, right? It's different, right? You know, that's how Nightmare would want to go. Because Nightmare is a goon. Y7's better than that. And that's what we're rewarding, right? We're rewarding a healthier form of obsession. I mean, Clem, what you're actually describing is just Drasha. Oh, what's her name? Fucking Drasha. Like the Resident Evil 7 chick, right? 7, 8. I can never remember which fucking Resident Evils are a fucking blur in my head. I know the first 3 are raccoon. I know 4 is the first time in the village. Yeah, the tall one. You know what I'm talking about, yeah. Oh no, civilians. Thankfully I missed. Hey, got me to the wall? No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Why is the animation so long? Why did it knock me down through a wall? I even took cover. Okay, now I'm actually just genuinely curious. Come here, grenades. It's time for science. I'm not gonna lie, I did say that like something is better than nothing. I should have really just said that like having the players spam key presses to get it quicker is not really great design. Or I think it's rather, it's unintuitive. Or rather it's hard
to breathe up here.
in a game like this, it has to be dramatic, otherwise if players don't notice it, is it really there? And I guess you could say at a certain point, right, as long as they feel like they're getting away, like it's there is some nuance to that, but like, God, if like spamming key presses to get up quicker might get you up quicker, but it's like only like half of a second out of a 5-second fucking knockdown, are they really gonna notice? Okay, that didn't get me. I wonder if the cluster will. Okay, the cluster... Huh. Let me try the other one. Let me try a little bit closer, maybe. Maybe the cluster's just borked? No, I guess it's... Huh. That one did it too. And it is damaging me also. Maybe it's like a concussion blast they're considering. Let me try a little bit farther away. Let's try this like texture line maybe. So that didn't do it. I'm kind of curious though. Can I like, I want to figure out the exact distance. Like I want to know if it's like maybe dampened a bit. Let's try like putting it like right here and it's going like here. Yeah, I feel like it might just be range just not getting us with this one. Yeah, I think it's range. I don't think it's actually like the actual wall itself. It's just the distance between it. That's kind of farther away than I was hoping. Well, it just like all the explosives cause knockdown, yeah. Like, all right, let's go. Get ready to leave. We'll free some cyborgs from their pain and suffering. I think the cluster just has probably a bigger radius, or maybe it's like its mini grenades have radiuses that kind of starts like spread dust. Maybe I don't know. It definitely feels like a bigger radius in regards to like knockdown. Oh god, no. Kinda worked out, actually. Get up, you fucking fat ass. my cyborgs at?
This is it.
Did I just send one to the moon? Hold on, there's gonna be one more wave. Now I just want to do science. See Game Shift, you too. We have sent a few other people to like space before too. They usually hit a wall though before they get too high. I kind of want to go to Elephant now. I have ideas. I think we're going to Elephant next. I have ideas what to do there. And it requires vast quantities of grenades. Alright. Bring a few meds over just in case. Bring a backup pistol too just in case also. We shouldn't need this, but just in case. Alright, and then we get some ammo or some grenades. I think we do probably need clusters for this just because I don't think these do as good of a job. We probably want to be at ruins for this, but this might work. Then we're gonna jump too, just in case. Okay, I have to try something first that might kill me, but the thought just crossed my mind, so I can't not do it.
Oh, we should have chosen another exit.
Oh no, 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 no. No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. We're good. This is very hard to control. Can you do it with like regular grenades too? Let's see. The timing is so rough though. Yeah, it's probably got to be clusters. That did not really do it. I'm already out of meds, basically. No, I actually am out of meds. Whoops. Yeah, ideally, I think we want to do this as... Am I out of stamina again? Oh god, the bug. Well, there goes our stamina. We didn't need anyway. Okay, I think the trench lines are the best idea for this just because it helps funnel them into a small area, which might force them upwards.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
Man, the stamina bug is just a fucking pain. Beep. There we go. That would have really sucked if we got stuck in there. I'm very glad we brought this jump. Very, very clutch. Alright, let's go find some cyborgs. Hey! Stop that. Functioning as intended. They've already told me they fixed this next patch, so like, don't worry, this bug will go away. I did bring this bug up to them very quickly. Like, this is like a go past nightmare escalation, because this bug feels like a very easy bug to reproduce, and really fucks up the game for players. What the fuck are you doing over here? Yeah, it's kind of hard to reproduce though. He will more often end up stomping you to death before he sync kills you. You can get the sync kill occasionally, but like, by and large, he will just stomp you to death first. I wonder if the Exo can fly. We all float down here. Wait, in a weird twisted way, can I like force the Exo to fight certain enemies by making it go to certain areas? Fucking bounced off my head. No, I don't have stamina for this. Leave me alone. It certainly can't happen to the mech, right? Wait, no. It certainly can't happen to the mech, too. God damn it. What is this Tom and Jerry shit? Okay, they're a little bit upset. They're a little bit upset. They're a little bit upset. Okay, so they removed flying tanks. They just gave you the ability to do it yourself. Understood? Alright, we're going over to... Do we even have enough, like... Hold on, who sells grenades? Does anyone sell grenades? Why are you here? Yeah, I think it has to be clusters, though. I don't think regular grenades will do it to such an extreme capacity. I don't have a lot left, unfortunately. This is a very sad day. I just burned half of them on that, or most of them on that map. Does Bunko sell it? The little ripoff? No. Of course you don't, Bunko. You don't do anything good for us. Alright, I can bring 2. I want to try it on tanks now. Unfortunately, we'll bring some other grenades too, just in case. We'll try it both. You're probably not worth bringing. Alright, we're good there, we're good there. Let's go over to Mesa and see if tanks can fly too. It was a successful experiment. We died during the process, but we did figure out lots of different things, like, yeah. Yeah, I've been told by the people who have done, like, the data mining, the way they've done weapons confuses them. I do not know enough about Unreal Engine 5 in that capacity to, like, comment, really.
Just one more run. Just one more run.
I think mentally, the little I have seen or understood, it is kind of a byproduct of them wanting to do very modular guns. But I don't have a lot of understanding of that capacity of Unreal Engine 5 and weapons in that setting. Don't worry, I definitely have seen the results where, like, them modifying guns seems to be a giant pain in the ass for them. But I'm not sure, like, yeah, the exact specifics. No, don't move. Huh. Also, my stamina's bogus back, goddammit. I need you guys to stand still. Oh, hey. Oh, wrong grenade. Do a kickflip. Beautiful. This is fucking Kylo Ren. Are you floating? See, this is the shit you only see on Mesa. This is what I mean. Like, you can't, like, this is just fucking normal Mesa shit, man. Yeah, I'm not really like, I'm kind of in Pixel. What? Did I just get pot-shotted by a fucking mech? How the hell did I just die? Murphy, I think I had some help from T90s though too. I don't think it was only that. No, Pixel, but I'm like trying to think, like, I don't know a whole lot about this element of game dev, so like I am pretty ignorant of this. I'm trying to think of like when you have guns with like hundreds of attachments, right? Let's go to like an RPK. Which I probably have quite a few attachments for right now, but probably don't have like the full like breadth, right? Like if you have guns with all these different attachments, right? What are you really supposed to do for modularity, right? It is going to be like basically doing all of the like, I think it feels to me like that would be the steps, right? Is like you have the base gun and then you have a bunch of different things that can go in different spots and they're mutually exclusive with different other things. It does mentally to me just seem like a lot of tedious, slow work. And I'm trying to think of like what other way you could do it. You could have, well, that would never work because you have so many different gun like if you had a limited amount of customization, you could just create the same gun with different parts on it over and over again and have like 100 different guns, but like it's really just like 5 guns with a few different variations. Yeah, my only concern, Emperor, is like I think what you're, I might be wrong. Let me try to interpret what you're saying, right? And what you're basically saying, right, is like you have a handgun part, right? And it's tied to a certain part in like the like, you know, the model, right? Where it will respawn that handguard. I guess it depends on then, like you have to be very thorough with your job in regards to where you place the attachment point on the like this itself, right? Like you would create basically like an anchor point, right? Where you would have things come in and anchor to that to help speed up the time which you would do it at, right? But the only problem with that, right, is it still requires a manual work on the asset itself. Yeah, but then yeah, you would need to anchor it on this part too, right? There's still the process of like anchoring it on here though too. It could be a thing too, like I know that like when you're extracting files like this, I'm not sure how much of a perfect science it is also. There is always some degree of data loss when you go from compiling to decompiling, right? And you're not using the actual tools themselves. So, and like you're like, we don't have access to the project file, right? Because what fucking company would give you access to the project file? But like what we do have is the deconstructed file from what we have. So like, there might be some loss of data going from the compiled step to the data we get from the data extract. So I'm kind of curious if maybe there's been tags or ways of them for identifying weapons that like might have been lost in translation. Yeah, I know about like basic anchoring and stuff like that, like when you like, you know, trying to attach models to models for example, like a sword to the skeleton of an actor, but like it just sounds like it might be that on steroids and 100 times over, right? With lots of different like, and if you start looking like an M4, right, or start looking at this gun, for example, right, you just get lots of instances where like, yeah, sure, like you have a simplified system for anchoring, which saves you time, but it is still just doing lots of different things for all of these parts, right? Having them work perfect together. And I imagine too, having 6 different actors, which some of them might share skeletons, right, is not helpful either. We haven't done you yet today, but I'm not sure if I want to do you right now. We haven't done my trench at all today. Let's get the quests. The good old trio. Yeah, it feels like Y7 with their recent attachments to guns. They're kind of leaning more in that direction. But like, I guess it's just like a slow process like for them to actually. I don't know if this is the case, but it feels like their guns are from an asset pack. I don't know if that's true or not, but like it might be that they're actually like now adding in their own models for like handguards and shit. I can't say the guns are an asset pack, but like as a fact, but it feels like they're an asset pack. Okay, we got everything. Traditionally speaking, I would say Unreal leans heavily into like third-person games and first-person games. I don't think I've seen a lot of strategy games getting made in Unreal Engine 5. For me, like the cornerstone of Unreal Engine 5 definitely feels to be like graphical fidelity. So like, yeah, it feels like heavily leans into like the FPS third-person shooter space.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Hey, I just spawned and you leave me alone. Yeah, typically speaking, like my knowledge of RTS is that they're usually heavily built from the ground up because they need to be made efficient in some capacity, right? And usually using like, you know, cookie cutter like sandbox engines like, you know, like UE5. They're not going to have the performance you need to do what you want to do.
I think they spotted us.
Like, remember, it's like Supreme Commander, right? Supreme Commander was built on its own engine. Because like to do what they wanted to do, they had to build their own engine. Back in the good old days when we had Supreme Commander and it wasn't owned by some fucking Japanese company who was locked away in a vault and won't ever make a game again.
Don't miss. Give a shot now.
If I had infinite money, I would buy the company that owns it. I would take the IP, I would dissolve the company and then go make a game with the IP. To be the most vindictive as I possibly could be. Leave me alone. I didn't mean to do it. Good night, sweet prince.
We decide what happens next.
Yeah, like there's definitely like an issue to climb, right? Of like, when you make things easier, it doesn't mean that, like, or rather, like, when you make things more performative, it generally just results in the people using that extra leeway to make things quicker or cheaper, or just like not focus on optimization work so much. CY7. It definitely feels like gains on the performance front have been commandeered to be, I'm sorry, don't shoot me. The gains in performance side have definitely been like offloaded to basically be like, hey, we can do quicker work now, or like, hey, we can not focus on optimization so much anymore now. Though considering Borderlands 4, it kind of feels like a UE5 issue where like there are just some machines that just do not function well in UE5, but it's common enough where like you can see it across the population, right? Like for some reason, some machines just do not run well on UE5. Like the whole like Borderlands debacle, right? Where like they're on UE5 too, and some people are saying it runs like absolute fucking ass, but some people are saying it runs fine. But like, you can't really discredit all the people for like, and it seems like a common enough issue. Like, it's either two things, right? Where it's like an actual campaign against Unreal Engine 5 games saying they're ass, or it's probably people with certain specs of machines who are trying to play modern games and having issues. Because there seems to be a certain amount of overhead that UE5 needs, or Nanite needs, as a baseline before it starts working. But like the problem is those two, right? Like if you ever have been a cost sector of a company, right? You always have this fear in the back of your mind where like you're the first to go during layoffs. And for those that are familiar, right? Cost sector employees are people who cost money, they don't generate profits. If you're developing software for a company, you are making the product for them to sell. You are not a cost center, you're a profit center. If you're the IT people, the support for the developers to keep their machines running, you're not a profit center, you're a cost center. You don't directly generate profit for that company by making them a product, you are supporting the people who do. So like when layoffs start happening, right, they start looking at you first. And when you start looking at optimization, right, well, you're not really making the content or the product, right? You're kind of an efficiency guy. So like if we need to, you know, cut the budget a bit down, or we need to save some money here and there, we need to like, you know, chop a few heads off for profit, you know, profit or shareholders. You're a cost center, friend. It's short-sighted though. That's kind of a critique of modern capitalism though, right? Is that ultimately it is a short-sighted, like it's rewards short-sighted behavior. It's not about like annual or like, you know, long-term profits or like, you know, dividends. It's about quarter-to-quarter shareholder value maximization. And nothing screams that like laying off employees for short-term gains. What's that like consulting company that does that shit all the fucking time? I think it's McKinsey, right? McKinsey's like, if I recall correctly, like, I might be misremembering the wrong name. So I think it's McKinsey, and they do business consulting, right? They're like strictly B2B, and literally like their whole stereotype is all they do is basically go into a company, tell the managers to lay off employees, and then give the manager raises. And naturally, managers love that shit, right? Because it means money in their pockets and good returns on, or like it makes this, it props up the stock temporarily, right? Basically, it's simple too, right? Because like it's such an easy way of like, let's go to lunch and talk about our businesses. And like it's like, you're just gonna cut employees, that will save you money. Like no fucking shit, Sherlock. Do you really need to pay you money for you to say that? But that kind of gets into the whole networking thing too, right? Of like, it's multifaceted and complicated, but like, hey, that's the whole thing about building relationships as an MBA or business person, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. We build a network together. A network of us both profiteering.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Give loot. If I don't look behind me, they don't exist. I mean, it's really just like, it's the end game, right? It's sort of kind of a capitalism. It's just everything's about the bottom line. Profit's the only fucking thing that matters. Or and personal profit too, right? Listen, they weren't doing enough for me to look behind me, so if I don't look behind me, they might despawn. It might not exist anymore in a second. Tactical. That's a fun problem always on Action Mesa too, is sometimes on Mesa, it's just better to run away from your problems. Because you might hit a despawn trigger, and then they go away, and then you're fine and safe. Literally have seen like cyborgs just spawn in front of me. Well, I think the big thing about Clem, I have to look into it though too, because I cannot recall at the top of my head. I do think they had lots of like outer party support though too. I think they had 30 employees, but I think they had more than that for the actual full development of the game. I would say, look, that I don't know if you're wrong or not. I remember reading something about that using their exact employee count is a bit misleading, because they had tons of contractors, or like they contracted out work too for the project. For animations. Animations are a big part of game development, right? Animations, like, I've tried doing animations before, like in UE5, just like a very like basic ones for games. It is a giant pain in the ass. It is a slow process that I would never have the patience for. I'd rather stare at walls of code than do animation, to be quite frank. Yeah, and so the people who have like the actual patience to do good animations, right, are like probably worth their weight in gold. I was looking for 762. I guess I should do cemetery actually. Let's go over to Scav Girl. Yeah, 100%. Or like first-person shooters too, or like shooters that you can go first-person for, having it have like the actual realistic animations too. Like it's kind of nice in third-person shooters, right? 'Cause you can kind of wing it sometimes and not do like a full-fledged animation. You can kind of just like make it look like an animation for reloading. First-person, you can't get away with that shit. Yeah, like they're like, it's hard to like exactly quantify like what natural feels like Dragon, right? For sure. It kind of just like, you kind of just have to play with it until it feels natural. I'm sure like the people who get really good at it get a feeling for what actually is going to be good or feels good. But like personally, like I always have that issue when I'm doing creative work, in the sense of I always want to make sure it's fully fleshed out and like functions the way I want it to, which can sometimes lead to like endless time sinks with no like end result. Thankfully though, I do get impatient and I will eventually gas myself out to the point of like, yeah, that's good enough. It takes a while though. Yeah, like, and like that's the whole thing too, right? Is like, I want to make sure, like, on a whole level, I am more concerned about the consistency of art, or rather how it fits in the game, as opposed to necessarily its quality, right? Like, the reasons why I take issues with the the guns in the game is not because they look like they're poorly made, it's just because like the visual clash of like modern, pretty clean guns and a grimdark feeling with like all these skulls around and like dirt and rubble and bodies and just everything, right? But we have just like a polished, clean gun that looks like it's straight out of the factory with aftermarket attachments. The quality is perfectly fine, like this is perfectly adequate, if not great. It's just that visually, it just like I'm a bit confused. I'm gonna hope that the actual logbook is in the main atrium. Why do they do that? It just looks so goddamn wrong. All right, there's a book here. It's not there. I would not say like they had to be like dirty, right, Bola? It's more in the sense of like having some wear and tear, like visually being a bit more dystopian or grimdarky, like being banged up or chipped up a bit, right? Like you can have wear without having it like be muddy, right? Yeah, it looks used. And just like Dragon was saying in regards to animations too, right? It has to just, it's a hard spot to get to the point where it feels like natural, right? You gotta just have to tinker with it until it feels like natural to the setting. It's hard to exactly quantify. You kind of just have to mess with it. And like personally for me, like I wouldn't say the guns look bad. They just don't feel like they fit the setting to me. And I will admit that's a personal taste of mine, right? Like I think some people do like the modern aesthetic of guns, but like for the game that I feel like I was buying into, it doesn't feel like a match to me. Also, ignore the fact that we have 2 magazines in. Just don't look at it, okay? Just don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at the fact that we have a magazine in our magazine. It's just don't understand the tactical ingenuity of scavengers. Yeah, like I know, like you don't need to make it muddy per se. You make it like a little bit dusty here and there, or dirty, right? Like a little bit specks of dirt on it, but like mainly like rust and wear and just like being used over time. Listen, okay, hold on. I'll make my case in a second here. Let me just go. I'll make my case in a second here. I'll show you exactly what I mean.
Another day, another dollar.
All right, so if you're telling me a bunch of hobos living in my innards cannot clean up some skeletons and dirt lying around, why do we have perfectly pristine rifles? It's a bit of a non sequitur, but I definitely think you can make the case that it's not. Like, you could say they're unrelated, but the fact that we have like a dirty setting that doesn't like has a very grim dark aesthetic that it's prevalent everywhere, why are the guns the one place where it's not a thing? Hey, Fred, we have a giant pit right there. A giant pit, Fred. just pick up the skull and throw it in the goddamn pit. You see a rock? You can take a minute out of your day and grab a rock and throw it in a pit. I would understand if you were just moving the trash from one place to another. Like, yeah, one corner to another corner, doesn't fucking matter. But we have a giant fucking pit. Look at this thing. There's nothing important down there. Like, just throw it down there in the pit. It's so easy, everyone. Just take a rock and throw it in the pit. What are you? Is it cold? Are you guys fucking by the heat lamp because you're cold? You know what might warm you up? Some physical exercise. Grab a goddamn rock and throw it in the pit. Fucking hobos. These are probably all like Rat King enthusiasts. Oh, we can't worship Rat King. It's the we can't throw out rocks. It's Rat King's holy day, which happens to be every day. Yep, and you're using the Rat King to freeload. Listen, I can't understand why you guys consider every day Rat King's holy day, and why that you use it as an excuse to not do any physical labor. But all I'm saying is we have a skull that's been in our innards for like a year now, and you guys cannot be bothered to throw the skull into the pit. I'm out here risking my scavenger's life every day, throwing grenades at tanks, seeing how far mechs can fly. And you guys are just sitting here around a heat lamp, not throwing rocks into a pit. It's not stuck in the ground. You know it's not. Yeah, I'm trying to get us back to satellite land. I'm trying to get us back to the point where I'm trying to restore satellite TV via the space program so that we can have some entertainment. And you know what would be nice when I get home? An actual clean living room. But no, we can't have that because you guys don't want to do any work and clean up the place. Let's do another Mesa. Let's do another cursed Mesa. Let me bring some drills too, just in case we get lucky. Alright, let's see if we get lucky with any exos around. Not exos, but mechs. No mechs at all? Alright, oh well. Got a flashlight? Is that a tank? Whatever. You know what? This is thinking about it. Oh God. It's a very small thing. God damn. It's a very small thing, but I kind of feel like I would love to see a game or like just a slight mod to see how it feels if the lights on units and flashlights were like a more like yellowy light as opposed to like the bright white. Now the bright white would be the actual one that'd be like appropriate to the actual like flashlights used in the game probably. But from like an aesthetic viewpoint, I'm kind of wondering how the like a more yellow light would fuck with the setting on flashlights. Like age light sources, but like more in the sense of like an old-timey light source, right? Like a more of like an OG flashlight as opposed to like these modern incandescent flashlights or the modern like very bright flashlights. And maybe you can have different tiers too. Like maybe some military units will actually have like the proper like bright ass white flashlights. But I feel like a yellow light would fuck with the setting more. From like a design perspective, right? Or like aesthetic perspective. Like think of like the sewers that like imagine if the lights actually imagine I would love to see like imagine Underground Cemetery with a much more like 90s vibey like retro sort of lighting, right? Yeah, it's all like hyper modern now, right? But like if they're trying to go for like this retro sort of like 90s retro punk, like this mix match of like all the different eras, I feel like using something like the more like old timey like 80s and 90s lighting of just like yellow, you know, yellow lights would be very interesting to see. I'm not saying it would work. I kind of like want to see it and feel it, right? But I definitely feel lots of different areas having that like that old timey lighting scheme, old timey and basically the 90s. Might vibe more with the setting or the art style. I feel like the white lights feel a bit too aggressive and they cut through the palette of the map colors a lot. It kind of overpowers the map, right? Yeah, saying old-timey 90s makes me fucking feel old all of a sudden because I was born in the 90s. It's like, oh god, no. Yeah, it can make sense in setting too, Dragon. You could make it make sense in setting, right, too. But like, it's more about the color palettes to me, or just like how the game vibes, right? Unks, fuck you guys. Fucking call me uncle. Fucking, I've been called an old man since I've fucking been 24. So like, it means nothing to me anymore, because like, when you get called old when you're 24 and keep getting called old when you get older, it's like, it doesn't make any sense anymore. It's all just fucking relative, you goddamn Zoomers. With your TikToks. What's the skull here? It's not you, is it? I guess it was you. I never figured out what the actual fucking thing on the top bar means when it's a skull. It feels so, like, inconsistent. Well, it's more Ebola too, just in the sense of, like, you didn't have tons of white lights around in, like, the older days. At least that, not to my recollection as a child. So, like, it evokes a much more retro feeling in that regard. Yeah, sure, like, in like, modern games it might be used for a more homey setting since it's more comforting, too. But it also, like, kind of does this weird feeling, too, where it makes the game feel older. Or, like, more retro. Or more, like, around the 90s, right? It kind of confuses the time scales a bit, which I think will also, like, I would say... Hold on, let me actually use this as an example, right? I'm kind of interested in what this would look like with a more yellow light as opposed to a white floodlight. Now this probably still works, but like there's certain, like, these are floodlights which should probably be fine with white, but like the more like indoor lights of like Underground Cemetery, I would be very curious to see how they look with a more yellow lighting to them. Like these floodlights in this bunker, this feels appropriate to me. But like the cemetery, I'm kind of very curious what it would feel like if it was much more of a yellow palette. Oh god, what the hell just fucking hit me? Yeah, that definitely could do that, Dragon Tier, for prototyping purposes. I'm not sure if it would fucking change anything. I have gotten a lot of pushback on me saying map shit. I do not think I have any sway in regard at all to maps. I have said quite a few things regarding maps, and I think they've all fallen on deaf ears. So it'd be a fun exercise to do for sure. But I definitely gimp it or Photoshop. I mean, I gimp it. Actually, I really need... Oh god, I really need to do this actually. This is a good idea. I need to go transfer over my Premiere accounts to student accounts to save some fucking money. Because God, Adobe takes their fucking pound of flesh. Adobe has no chill.
Nothing to be done. They must be cut down.
I think a lot of it's actually nanite though. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they make some lights, but I think the sorry, not nanite, lumen. I imagine a lot of their well, either you can turn off lumen on a lot of the maps, and outside of like global like lighting, most of the maps basically turn imperceptible. So they're really relying on lumen lighting in a lot of instances. They still do have some baked lights here and there, I think, for like very, very large skylights. Maybe actually, does nanite turn off? Does lumen turn off the skylight? Not sure. It's been a while since I played in Renland 5, so I use GIMP. I like for all my editing, all my videos and stuff. I use all my thumbnails. I use GIMP. I am somewhat proficient with GIMP. Not, I wouldn't say I'm anywhere close to like professional, but proficient. Yeah, Lumen basically is just real-time lighting in the editor, as opposed to having to bake lighting. As opposed to having to wait for lights to fucking compile, basically, or bake into the maps, you can do it much easier with Lumen and in real time with Lumen. The trade-off is performance and quality, right? You can make Lumen look pretty good, but it usually hits performance pretty hard. But there's trade-offs, right? I mean, if you've ever done baked lighting before on a map, it's a fucking not a fun process. Well, it's a slow process. It can be fun if you really like doing map design, level design, but it's not a quick process because every time you bake lighting, it takes a while. So, all right. That's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow around maybe noon to 1, the same time-ish, for a second stream this week. Other than that, take it easy, everyone. I'll see you guys again tomorrow, and have a good weekend if I don't see you again. Bye, all.